are just in time for story time. Inspiring people, inspiring stories all around the world. Boys and girls, moms and dads, who knows what you find. We all have a story, and you're just in time
for story time for a very special episode.
My name is Norris. I am a composer and the founder of South Side Symphony, and I am just in time.
Welcome back to a brand new episode of Just in Time for Story Time. And I'm so excited today. I hope you're excited because typically, we have some amazing kid stars that are always sharing their perspectives and their viewpoints on the world. But every once in a while, there's a big kid or an adult that is also doing some inspiring things in the world, some amazing things that we want to give a little extra attention to today. We will be doing that. So without further ado, you are just in time for Story Time Music Edition. Oh, I'll insert some cool sound effect right here. All right, now, do you love music? And do you love a new innovative sound that takes you on a journey? And if you do, this guest is about to blow your mind. So today we're talking with Dr. Marcus Norris, a trailblazing composer whose journey began with producing beats, and now he is an award-winning musical composer. In 2020, Marcus founded the South Side Symphony, one of my favorites, an ensemble, and he describes it as younger, more ratchet sound accompanied by lush live strings and horns. You'll get to hear what that sounds like in a second. The South Side Symphony not only bridges classical and contemporary music, but also creates opportunities for underrepresented musicians to shine. Marcus brought his creativity and skills across genres, leading to amazing collaborations with, get this, your girl Beyoncé, Chloe and Halle, and even the musical sensation Andra, just to name a few. Marcus is a passionate advocate for diversity and inclusion in the arts, and he ensures that his compositions and collaborations reflect a rich tapestry of cultural influences and voices. Please welcome to the show a friend in my head, Dr. Marcus Norris. What's up, man?
And after an intro like that, I'm feeling great.
Good. How you doing? Thank you so much, man, for taking time off of the composing and hanging out with Beyoncé to be here with us today. I appreciate it. Absolutely, man. Well, I'm really excited to have you as a guest. We talked a little bit before the interview, but I think it's always amazing when we see people doing things that we don't, in places that look like us, but we don't normally see. And I think you're doing a great example of being a composer, creating the South Side Symphony, and your love and passion for music. So we're going to talk about all that today, if that's okay. And then play a little game at the end. Is that all right?
I'm excited about it.
All right. And by the way, welcome to my new set, man. It's got a name in the back, everything.
Looking great. It's looking great. I'm like, man, I need to just hide all this.
Right. No, it looks like an artist. You're an artist in the back. That's dope. All right, man. So take us back to making rap beats it was, and how you first kind of found music, or what was your first exposure to music?
Yeah, so when I was a kid, my uncles introduced me to making beats because they made beats and rapped and all of these things. And I was maybe like 13, and I had been like interested in instruments a little bit when I was younger, but it never was like my identity the way like it was for other people. Because I just always had the ideas for like, oh, but what if those people over there were playing this, and what if those people over this were doing that? And then when they showed me like beat making software, I was like, wait, I can be the whole band with this, and I couldn't do anything else. Like I spent all my time doing it. It was my diary. It was everything to me, and I didn't even show anybody the beats I was making for at least a couple years. It was just for me. It was just for me, a way to express myself and process the things that were going on in my life, good and bad. And I just never stopped making music ever since.
Yeah, so it sounds like you lived, breathed, drank, ate music.
All day, sun up, sun down.
Yeah, I'm very much so. We have that in common. Music is runs through my veins. Like I'm constantly singing a song or thinking of ideas. It's definitely a way of life, which I think is very cool. And I think it's very cool that you kind of stumbled upon your passion early in life. You know what I mean? Like it found you because you could really tap into it. Why do you think music is so important for you? What does it mean to you?
So Charles Darwin theorized that humans had music before we had speech, meaning that like before we knew how to talk, or even if you look at babies, it's like babies, it's like can sing and match pitch way before they're talking. And I think to me, music is just a part of the human experience. We don't really know why it happens. Or why we use it specifically. It's just, but everybody uses it. All cultures love music. And for me, it's this universal thing. And it's like, I've been at different places around the world in different countries, and we don't speak the same language, but like, we like the same music, you know?
Yeah. You literally took the words out of my mouth. I think it's the coolest thing how you can fill, a stadium up with people from all over the world and play a piece of music, and literally everyone can have the exact same feeling and emotion. Like there's nothing else in the world that can do that but music.
And attach it to like their life's journey and something that's happening in their life. And I think it's amazing.
Yeah. Now you mentioned you've traveled all over the world. Traveling, that definitely exposes you to other cultures. Have you found do you find a lot of influence in your music from different parts of the world that you've been to?
Constantly.
Okay.
For me, I try to interact with the different cultures, and one thing I love about music is that like everybody knows something about it that I don't. And that keeps you humble. It's like, something about music that I don't, and all the kids watching this know something about music that I don't. They've heard something that I haven't heard, and my nieces and nephews do this to me all the time. Oh, you don't know this, Uncle Marcus? It's like, nah, I'm old,
I'm in my 30s.
It's just, and so it's like I definitely do. I actually just wrote a piece for a concert we did like 2 weeks ago. That was all about cultural exchange between like East Asian cultures and Black American cultures.
Okay.
I wrote a piece for an instrument that like was made 1,000 years ago called an erhu.
What would it sound like if you combine this with this? This is an erhu. This is a traditional Chinese instrument that was invented over 1,000 years ago. The thing that makes it unique is it features 2 strings, and in the way it's played, they sort of like slide between the notes in a really expressive way.
And I kind of took this traditional Chinese instrument, and I kind of like wrote a piece for that and South Side Symphony. And that's after I had went to China in 2019.
That is so. Will we be able to hear that somewhere?
Yeah, soon. I'm waiting on the videos. I should have the video soon.
Okay,
and I'll send you the video I made about the erhu and stuff.
Yes, please do. I actually just got back from Japan, man, and when I tell you the music out there and the culture out there, food wise is amazing. First of all, but culture, like when it comes to music, like moved for sure. And then I find like even when I'm like creating music, I find inspiration. I went to like a bamboo forest. You find inspiration in the wind blowing through the trees, the sounds that it makes. I don't know if you're anything like that, but sometimes that happens for me.
No, nature is so musical. Like, I've been using the analogy of the songbird lately. I've been thinking about it a lot because people have been asking me like, how are you doing so much? How do you do so many different things? And I just try to explain them like I'll never run out of songs. It's like inspiration is not finite in this universe. I'm like the songbird wakes up and it sings every day because that's what it does. And I was like, and that's what I do. I wake up and I just have to make these things.
Yeah. You got to get it out.
You have to. Yeah, and that's what I'm here for.
Yeah. And it probably is not work for you because you probably enjoy it. I'm sure it has its moments, but when you enjoy something that you're doing, it's easy to do.
Yeah, it's just your way of operating. It's like of course there are work aspects to it and you put that in, but like as far as the like you said, you walk around singing all day. That's what songbirds do. That's it's what they were made to do.
Yeah, second nature. Very cool. Now, if we look at your name is Marcus Norris, but there's a little something ahead of that, doctor. Why is education important for you?
Education is important because it proved, like, the thing that getting my doctorate did for me was like, it gave me the ability that I can learn anything I want to. For me personally, if going to school for the arts, it's like, yes, learning those things are important, but like learning how to learn is like the most important thing ever. Because now it's like, say I wanted to write for that 1,000-year-old Chinese instrument. I hadn't taken a class on it, but because of those skills I got while in school, it's like I know how to teach myself that. I know how to teach others that. And I think that's one of the most useful skills you can ever get.
That's awesome. You taught yourself how to learn, and then you can apply that to every aspect of your life.
Every aspect of your life, and anything that you want to learn. Once you've identified what is my unique thing that I'm called to do, it's like, okay, now I know how to get there. I know how to learn what I need to learn in this ever evolving world.
So you, like I said, we said earlier, you found your passion earlier. How do you know when you stumble upon a passion, or how do you find your thing?
Yeah, my advice on this is a little like opposite of what people expect. Like for one, it's a big blessing for me to have found mine young, and I recognize that so much. But my advice for young people is like, just find something you're good at, and honestly, the enjoyment comes with time. Like, it feels good to be good at something. And then, you know what I mean? And there's kind of this feedback loop of like, oh, now I want to be even better at it. And I think finding your passion is important, but I think the passion comes later. I think finding something you're good at, and finding like some skills or something you can be good at too, because that's a whole nother thing where there are a lot of people who are like scared to be beginners at things, and I just luckily I have a personality quirks that just makes me okay with being bad at things.
Great personality quirk, by the way.
It's useful, at least. I don't know, like, if it helps me at parties or anything, but like it serves me well in that, like, okay, I'll be a beginner at this for a few years, and eventually I won't be a beginner anymore.
But that's awesome that you say that, is just start things, try things. It's okay to fail, right?
And you can change the thing. That's what I think people forget sometimes. It's like, when that was my advice to my siblings. Like, I'm like, just do something. Just spend times making things, whatever you want to make. If you like video games, how do they make video games? You like music, how do they make the music? If you like, it's just figure out, like, make things. And then, and just know that, like, hey, if you're not digging it, if it's not something you're really into, you can always change the thing.
And it's okay to be bad at things. And
okay, it's matter of fact, it's normal. Like, it's the requirement to be good at things is to be bad at things.
Yes, I love that. Well said, man. Well said. Okay, let's talk about the symphony. So I remember one of my earliest memories in elementary school was every year we would go to the symphony. I think I was the only kid that was excited about it, but I loved the symphony. I remember getting goosebumps all over. So do you remember the very first time you saw an orchestra live or went to the symphony?
I'd have to think about the very, very first time. I do remember a related story that I could tell is that I remember the first time I heard something I wrote played.
Okay, how was that?
I fell to my seat. I literally fell into my seat and was just like, I have to spend my life doing this.
Yeah.
There's something like everybody loves music. We all know music and have music that we like or
Yeah.
don't like.
Mhm.
But there's something different that happens in a room with all of these instruments physically vibrating in the space.
Mhm.
And you have 20, 30, 40 people trying to put their brains together and work together. Like, how can we make this sound
Yeah.
as effective as we can? How can we make it
Yeah.
pull on the heartstrings?
Mhm.
And when that happens and the instruments physically vibrate in the space and
Mhm.
you're kind of in the
Mhm.
middle of it, it's a different sensation
Yeah.
than just listening in headphones, which I also love. But
Yeah.
it floored me. I just fell into my seat literally, and I just like I can't do anything else. It has
Mhm.
to be.
Yeah. I imagine it makes you emotional.
It does very much
Yeah.
so.
Mhm.
Especially with the kind of music I write for that thing specifically. But
Yeah.
it does. It touches your emotions if you're
Yeah.
doing it right.
Goodness, that's amazing. So I brought up the symphony because you have founded something amazing. It's called the South Side Symphony. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So I started South Side Symphony a few years back, and the idea was like, what if the orchestra didn't exist and it was invented today by a young black man? What would that look like? Where would they play? What kind of music would they play? How would they dress? What would the concerts be like? I just wanted to
Mhm.
start from scratch, because when I was I knew I wanted to write music for orchestras, and I knew I wanted to make this fusion style where we celebrated some of the R&B and hip hop and soul music
Yeah.
that I grew up on. But I looked at the orchestras, and I looked at like the music they were playing, and they're
Mhm.
playing Mozart and Bach and Beethoven
Yeah.
and these like European composers um, from hundreds of years ago. And I was
Mhm.
like, most of these orchestras aren't even playing people
Yeah.
that are alive,
Yeah.
and the ones that are weren't really playing composers that looked like me or looked
Mhm.
like people that I knew,
Mhm.
and I just knew I wasn't going to get a chance to. I knew that they weren't going to give me the opportunity to
Mhm.
celebrate this music that I loved. So I
Mhm.
said, well, just have to make it happen myself.
Listen, forged your own way, man. How awesome is that? I've heard people can find your music everywhere. iTunes, Spotify, it's everywhere. But one of my favorite songs that you have composed is called Peach Lemonade.
It's a
And
fun one.
it's a fun one. And it's just such a vibe. And it just takes you away to another place. Like, I love that, man. I love that. What has been one of your fondest kind of memories or takeaways so far with the South Side Symphony?
I really it's just the culture that we've created amongst the musicians. One of
Yeah.
the unique things about Southside Symphony that I really emphasize is I always just say like family business, meaning
Yeah.
that like we are closer. They're not just my colleagues; they're my friends, and we've had high moments, and we played at like you know family events
Mm-hmm.
and other things for each other, and the same people who record on the albums play at the concerts,
Okay.
and also like perform on like the film and TV scores that I do.
Okay.
It's like I'm big on like you can't separate the people from the music.
Gotcha. Very awesome. How does it feel being in a room with other musicians that look like you and orchestrating with other musicians that look like you?
It's just such a good time. Like a lot of times in these professional settings, there are they can be very competitive for these
Sure.
orchestras because there are just a small number of them and
Mhm.
so many musicians, and there's competition, and there's like tension, and these like
Sure.
everybody is so scared to make a mistake or anything.
Sure.
And I just kind of come in, I'm like, hey guys, I'm gonna make a ton of mistakes. Hey, you
Heads
all
up.
already have the job. You know what I mean? So let's just have a good time. Like,
Yeah.
and I think that kind of culture starts from the
Mhm.
top down, and
Yeah.
so it's just
It's just a
it's just
jam
like
session.
it's just a jam session. It's just like a
Yeah.
family kickback. You
Yeah.
know,
That's beautiful. With all
I
your
described
cousins and huh?
Oh, I was gonna say when I pitched the very first Southside Symphony concert, I was like I described it as I'm like I want it to feel like you're at like a family function, and then at some point in time you're singing Uncle Marcus hops on keys, and your favorite cousin who always sings Happy Birthday hops up and she's singing the song. I
Yeah.
wanted it to feel like I called it like a kickback concert for the first one because I
Mm.
just wanted it to feel like that.
Yeah. So it's like that's an experience, though. I feel like if we come see the Southside Symphony, we get an experience, cultural experience, musical experience. It's got a little bit of everything thrown in there.
Exactly. And it's like the whole way it's set up is different in that
Yeah.
like normally when you go to an orchestra, people are told to be very, very quiet, and then the
Uh-huh.
orchestra like plays music at you. But I
Yeah.
always start the concert by saying like, hey, you guys came here to hear us, but we came here to hear you. So
Yeah.
you know the
Yeah.
songs, sing them.
Yeah.
If somebody does something you like respond to it. I want it to be an
I
exchange
love that.
rather than a one-way
Mhm.
thing.
You said it's how did you say ratchet? What did you say? A younger, more ratchet sound, but also with lush live strings and horns. I love that. I absolutely because who thinks ratchet and orchestra in the same sentence? Nobody. Nobody.
Nobody. And I
Nobody.
wanted to like give you the vibe immediately. Like you're coming
Yes.
to a party.
Yes, I love it. I love it, man. And I think it's awesome because a lot of times people tell us what we can and cannot do, what's normal and what's not normal. And I think what you're doing is really taking something that's very traditional in a way and making it your own thing. And no one's telling you it's right, it's wrong, but it's Marcus's thing. And other people are relating and hearing it. And I think that's an amazing thing for everyone watching to take note of for sure.
Thank you. No, I agree, and it's important to me. And I always tell the musicians this is like at Southside, you can bring your whole self
Yeah.
to this. A lot of times, you have to like, okay, I'm going into this classical space. I'm going into this traditional space. I have to leave behind the
Yeah.
soul music I grew up on, or I have to leave behind the fact that I like to dance. I remember when I got to college and I was learning like classical piano, I would get chastised because I'm always tapping my foot when I play, and I'm like
Feeling
getting
it.
grooves. How do you not tap your foot? And they're like, no, you have, So with Southside, it's like you can bring your whole self because I enjoy orchestra music. I also enjoy, ratchet music. I also like to dance. I like to say, I like all these things, and so it's like we are all these things, and I wanted to create a space where it's like you're allowed to bring your whole self to this.
I love that, man. That is awesome. So speaking of our being able to bring our whole selves to a space, I don't know what segue I was going with this, but Beyonce. I don't know where I was going with that, but Beyonce. Working with Beyonce, which I feel like for a lot of people is like a career goal or dream. How did that come about, and how was that for you?
Yeah, so I work with her mom, Miss Tina, a lot.
Okay.
They have a theater in North Hollywood called the Waco Theater Center, and they do plays, concerts, dance things, like just a bunch of really cool Black art is being made there. And I've been working with them since 2018, 2019, like just for a long time, like composing for the plays. And we did the first South Side Symphony concert there. I was music director for, she does this big wearable art gala, Miss Tina, that is. And I was music director for that. And, me and South Side Symphony performed there. We had Chloe Halle and Andra Day and all these. And so it was soon after that, Miss Tina might have called me and she said, yeah, what are you up to these days? If Miss Tina calls you and asks you what you're doing, you say nothing. I was fighting
Beyonce's
for my life.
mom, by the way. Yeah.
Right. Beyonce and Solange. If she calls you and asks you, like, what are you doing? You say nothing, even if you're really busy. I'm totally available.
Yeah. Just waiting on your call, actually, honestly.
Right. Yeah, no, for sure. And in real life, I was so busy.
Yeah.
But she told me about the concert that Beyonce was working on in Dubai, and about how they were going to have like an orchestra. And she was like, I just think you should be helping with it in this. And I was like, of course.
Me
like,
too.
Of course. Like whatever. I'm like, whatever you ever need, I'm here for it. So no, it was really cool. I didn't actually get to go to Dubai because we were doing we were preparing to record the live Southside Symphony mixtape at Waco the same time. And it's like a thing, it's like I can't miss it. It's with your mom. Your mom she's gonna know. I can't be calling
I have to be here.
Yeah, so but I got to like work on it. They worked on it in LA before the whole show. They just put I don't know how many people. It has to be like a couple hundred people went with them to Dubai. Like the whole production went. And so I worked on it here with them in LA and helped develop it and do some records and stuff. And it's just as amazing as you think it is. Like Beyonce is like the kind, like a lot of times we think of, or we hear horror stories of like these celebrities, oh, they're not as nice. No, Beyonce is like just the kindest person, and she's a genius. And also kind and gracious and
amazingly talented.
I can't say enough kind words. There aren't enough kind words to say. It was an amazing experience, and it's like it's like seeing a unicorn. It's like your brain doesn't think that. No, I'm not seeing. It can't be real.
This is not real life.
It can't be
Yeah.
real.
It's not real life. Now, the piece that you orchestrated was in Dubai, correct? In 2023 is Dubai. And that's the one where she did that note. Whoa.
That started the whole challenge and everything.
It did a whole viral challenge. Amazing. But again, it just goes to show hard work, dedication, and really believing in yourself got you to a place where you're working with some of the greatest people in music. And that's all because you believe in yourself and you tried something, which I think is amazing.
I agree. I think believing in yourself, and I think another one that people like, another value that people sleep on is like doing what you say you're gonna do, like being someone that like people can rely on, being dependable, and just having a good name.
Yeah.
Like, so like Miss Tina felt comfortable recommending and suggesting me to Beyoncé and everybody that's around Beyoncé because I've done good work for her, and I'm always there when she needs me, and I'm reliable. I do what I say I'm gonna do when I say I'm gonna do it, which is a huge one, and doesn't rely on like talent.
And that's great because being a genuinely good person, even when people aren't watching, because we never know the influence and the impact that we're having in life on other people, what other people observe and see. So that's why it's important to be authentically a great person by yourself, because that shines when you're with others. I agree, man.
I agree, and what you put out is what you get in.
Listen, life lessons. Okay, now one thing I also love that you do this with the South Side Symphony is your work is aimed to creating more inclusive spaces within classical music. How do you feel? Do you feel like that's changing a lot? Do you feel like how do you feel about, how do you do that?
For me, I try to one, hire as many Black folks as I can, like give them those opportunities, because there are so many that like very much have the skills, have the talent, have the dedication, the integrity, all these things we're talking about, but it just statistically very often get overlooked by a lot of these major orchestras. And there are a lot of like people I know who do a lot of work. There's a guy like Loki Karuna, who's a good friend of mine, and he does like work on bringing these things into classical music. My kind of philosophy, and I think my role in it is like, I try to talk about this stuff really unapologetically and just make sure it's really out there front and center. It's like, no, we're celebrating Black music because it deserves to be celebrated, full stop. And then also I try to think about it like, rather than me trying to like push these people into these orchestras, we're throwing our own party and everyone's invited. But we're kind of doing this cool thing over here. And it's been really interesting to see how that is evolved. I recently was composer in residence for Juilliard's MAP program. And as part of that, they asked me to compose a new piece. And they said, and they asked for it in the style of South Side Symphony. And it's like, and and we got to go there and talk about South Side Symphony and to the young students and everything. And it's like I mentioned earlier in this, it's like when I started South Side Symphony, it was because there was no opportunity for this to happen. There was no opportunity to write this music and celebrate the Black music I grew up on. And so I think that's kind of where at the moment where I think my lane is.
That's gotta be unreal to show up at a place where you start this thing and there's no blueprint on how to do it and how to figure it out. You create this thing. People are inviting you to do music in the style of how you do it, specifically something you created out of nothing. Like that is impressive, man. Impressive and commendable. It's really commendable. Yeah. Okay, one last question for you. What piece of advice would you give to any kid watching right now?
Ooh, my advice for any kid watching right now is try to also be a producer as well as a consumer. And I don't just mean for music, I mean like whatever it is that you like. If you like video games, start trying to figure out like how do they make those games? If I wanted to make a game, how would I make it? Or if you like to read and it's like, well, how does one make a book? How do you write a book? Films, it's like whatever it is that you enjoy and you consume, it's like I would say start trying to think about like how can I also be a producer of those things and what would that look like? Because you just have more time now than you will ever have in your life once you have bills and all these things. Like it's Justin can tell you it gets different. It's harder to find that time. And I think one of the biggest advantages I've had in my life was that like I found something that I really liked earlier. And by the time I reached my early 20s, I had already got my 10,000 hours in on that thing. So my advice would be like, try to be a producer of whatever you like as well. And like we said earlier, the thing can change for sure. And probably will change. But just try to also be a producer and then just make as much as you can.
Yeah, and it sounds like put your full self. If you try something, try it though. Put your full self into it. Go for it. Do it. If it doesn't work, you can say, I tried it. It wasn't for me. But anything you try, go for it. Like you said, full stop. I think that's great.
And enjoy the ride.
Most important part. Most important part. All right, Dr. Marcus Norris, would you like to play a game?
I'd love to play a game.
Okay. All right. So this game is called Rapid Random Questions. And so what you're supposed to do is really answer the question as quick as you can. First thought that comes to your mind, blurt it out. This is a safe space. This is fun. Are you ready for Rapid Random Questions? Really, it's music edition.
I'm ready.
Okay. All right. First question. Jazz or blues?
Jazz.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Peach lemonade or orange juice?
Peach lemonade.
Easy, because he has a song. Check it out on Spotify.
It.
Link below. Favorite song?
Whoo, okay. Ain't No Way, Aretha Franklin.
Tell me why.
I just feel like sometimes music that isn't very complicated can be the music that on the surface is not very complicated. The emotions underneath are so complicated. And once you've mastered something, like a pretty good person can make something that's complicated and stuff, but a master can like take it something that's complicated and make it simple. And Aretha did that. Ain't No Way. Every time I hear it, it just is.
Yeah, balling.
Go to
Ain't
tears.
No Way.
Need a love.
So awesome, man. Awesome. So what does music taste like?
Music tastes like, I guess if I'm not gonna think about it, the first thing on the tip of my tongue was peach lemonade, but I feel like that's because we just talked about it.
I love that. I mean, that sounds refreshing. That sounds like something you want on a hot day, relaxing. Peach lemonade. Now, how would you describe music to someone who's never experienced it?
I would describe it as emotion. I would describe it motion and emotion in one. It sings.
That was good. Motion and emotion together. Listen, I can't tell. Listen, that was good. That was good.
It's off the top, man. Off the top.
Yeah, I was like, that was good. See, doctor. That's that doctor right there. Who is your dream collaboration? Who do you want to compose a piece of music for or work with the most?
Dream collaboration. I would say, I honestly, probably my brain went first to The Dream, who is actually, like, I know it's in the title, but he's actually like probably my favorite living songwriter. Honestly,
I
I just
love
think,
your girl. Yeah.
yeah, and he also, like, just for the kids, he wrote Umbrella for Rihanna. He wrote Single Ladies for Beyonce. He writes a lot of the Beyonce songs. Like he writes tons of songs on every Beyonce album. Is what he does now, and
Yeah.
good work if you can get it.
Yeah. The Dream. My goodness. Okay. Dream collab with The Dream. Noted. Got it very much. All right. Favorite style of music?
Favorite style of music? Fusion. It's kind of a cheating answer because it just means you can bring in elements of all of it, but that's what I like. I like the jazz fusion, and you bring in the soul and the R&B. I was born in the 90s, to the kids, the 1900s, and so I love 90s R&B.
We're still young. What's one piece of music that gives you that stank face, where you listen to it and you're just like,
A lot of the George Clinton funk, like the stank is usually like for the funk for me, when I like when they slow it down and then bring in like the big horns.
You can ride it out. Yeah.
Like, oh man.
That's great. All right. Biggest lesson music has taught you?
Biggest lesson music has taught me discipline and just being consistent. Like, the discipline of consistency, because music is something that you never master. Like, you're never done learning music, and I love that about it. I love that it's like I'm gonna work my entire life and I'll never be done. There's still more to learn. So I think there's a discipline. I think there's a humility in that, to meaning like, hey, know what you don't know.
Okay. I love that. Forever a student of music. Gotcha. Now, fun fact is you like anime, correct?
Love anime.
Favorite anime?
It's from the era that I'm from, so it has to be Dragon Ball Z.
Okay. Okay. Favorite anime song?
Favorite anime song might be Tank, which is the theme song for Cowboy Bebop.
Okay, which is a throwback. Okay, we love that. Best advice you were ever given?
One of my mentors, before he passed, he made me promise to him that I would put as much art as I could into everything I made. And I just think that's just good advice as an artist. It's like, just put it all in there, put everything you can, make it as good as you can, make things that you be proud of, even if nobody ever listened to it.
Yeah. And that's great life advice in general. Like, just go for it. Go for it. You only live once. Last question. This is a very tough one, okay? Did you have a good time on JustinTIME for StoryTIME?
I didn't have a good time. I had a great time.
Man, Marcus, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you so much for being such a positive, bright, shining light in the world, and for really changing things, making your own, and really trailblazing and making a way for others that look like you and that don't look like you. You're an inspiration, and you're just in time for StoryTIME.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. Well, this has been another episode. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, share, all of the things. Leave a comment. Let us know what you like, what you love. And you can find Dr. Marcus Norris in the comments below. Also, he is part of the founder, boss man of the South Side Symphony Orchestra. Definitely head over and check that out. But until next time, you're just in time for Story. Take care, y'all.
You're just in time for story time. Inspiring people, inspiring stories all around the world. Boys and girls, moms and dads, who knows what you find. We all have a story, and you're just in time
For story time. Just in time for story time for a very special episode. Absolutely. That's amazing, man. Now, I've completely lost my train of thought. Thank God we can edit this out. You have me so like that. That was amazing. But so then back to the music.